Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is your boy, Jason Avant. I'm here with my main man, teammate, homie, Quintin Mikell, and we are representing Inside the Birds. This is the Q&A show. We're excited to be back with you guys again. There's a lot of interesting topics and a lot of things that are going around in the world. The NCAA, name, image, and likeness. There's what's going on with the NFC East preview. There's I heard today that Zach Ertz has to report to camp. So there are so many different things that's going on. Q, say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody? Good to be here. We're excited for it, man. It's a fun time of the year. We're getting close to training camp, like Jason said, and there's so many things to talk about, and we're excited to get going. So without ado, let's get it cracking.
And for all the fans out there, we want to say thank you for making this show a success again and again and again. Make sure that you email your questions to insidethebirds@gmail.com. Again, insidethebirds@gmail.com. We will continue to answer those questions along with the weekly topics that we decide to go forth with. Also, make sure that you're following us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you to Adam and Jeff and Hunter and Jim and everyone that's responsible, Josh, for the Q&A show and Inside the Birds platform on the YouTube channel. Make sure that you're checking us out anytime. We're also on Amazon Music. Wherever you see the Inside the Birds logo, you know that the Q&A show is there. So thank you guys for making this a success, and all those that are uploading and putting your questions in each and every week. So thank you guys for that. Q, we're going to get into our first topic. Without further ado, we're going to get to our first topic. We're going to talk about the NFC East and their transactions, their previews, what's happened so far, free agency, the draft, projections, guys coming back. What do you think? The first thing that we're going to talk about, the first team we're going to talk about is our own team. We know that the Eagles are first in our division. They're first in our heart, at least. We know that the Eagles did not have a great season last year. 4-11-1, finished last in the division. And I have my thoughts, but I'm going to give it over to you to start off. The Philadelphia Eagles, through free agency, the draft, as we stand right now, did our team get better over the summer?
I think, oddly enough, I think we did get better. And I'm not saying better for necessarily next year. I think the team got better like long term, meaning we drafted some pieces to plug in, and we drafted some guys that can develop into, if coached the right way, if they learn the game, if they focus on their craft, if they focus on how to assimilate into the NFL. I think this rookie class can definitely be something that'll be we'll look back in a couple years and say this is a very good draft class. I mean, you're looking at Devontae, you got Devontae, Landon Dickerson if he stays healthy. You're looking at Milton Williams, who originally I wasn't sure about the pick, but the more I see and the more I think about and start to see a few glimpses of what this defense is supposed to look like, I think that he could end up being something of a steal. I still think secondary-wise, I think we need to, obviously the thought process there was probably to build in the front in the trenches in the front seven first. So I do wish that we'd have addressed the secondary position a little bit more. But, it's not too bad. We brought in some veterans and off the top, I'm forgetting names. So we still have Slay. I'm thinking
to my Anthony Harris.
Anthony Harris, yes.
Yep.
So, we brought in a couple pieces in the secondary wise that'll hold us over. So, and of course you got Rodney McLeod coming back. Hopefully he's ready from his ACL tear next year. And
Zach McPherson.
Zach McPherson, who's a young corner who definitely can play at this level. So, I think so far I'm optimistic. I think this team is definitely trending in the right direction now. It depends on who you ask whether or not, like, if you're expecting a playoff team, I don't know if we're there yet, but I do think we're going to see some improvements. What do you think?
So I agree with you to some extent. Now, did we get better long term? I agree with you. You can't say you didn't get better and you got 3 first-round picks next year. right? So you had a first round pick this year and you got Devontae Smith. That's very, very good. However, when you look at the landscape of the NFC East, the Giants had a top 10 defense last year. They get a Dory Jackson, which only bolsters their defense. They get a few other players on defense as well. So, and then when you go down each line, and I don't want to go that far, but the Eagles, I think when it comes to draft capital, we're in a better position. Have we gotten better for this particular year? No, because I believe that our best free agent's Anthony Harris.
Yeah.
And that's pretty bad.
What you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? So as far as now, I'm not saying Anthony Harris is not a player that can make a Pro Bowl. I'm not saying that he's a player, but we know that he's an older player that has limited range, and that there's a lot of splash plays that could have happened. Like when you look inside our division and seeing, you know, what other teams have done in free agency, there's a lot of things that's transpired in free agency, right? So Kenny Golladay for the Giants, and like I said, Adoree Jackson, Fitzpatrick and Curtis Samuel for the Redskins. Like when you look at so many different things, when you look at the Eagles, you're like, man, there isn't a lot of play. William Jackson, Redskins. Like when you look at all those things, I don't think that the Eagles are necessarily getting better. Now, I believe that they had a really good draft, especially their first two picks. I think that they picked two potential Pro Bowlers with their first two picks. So I love their future, but their current situation, I don't necessarily know that the team has gotten better for the 2021 season. So that's where I am with that. I'm not trying to be Dr. Doom and Gloom. I think that getting people back also bolsters our offense, right? So getting Brandon Brooks back, that's key. That's huge. Getting a healthy, a full offseason, full body weight Derek Barnett back. Hopefully you can get an offensive lineman that's cohesive. So when you think about that, do I think the Eagles always have heart? They always have fight. So they're going to fight and be in position. But did we get better this offseason? I can't say that we've gotten better for the 2021 season. Maybe for the 2023 season, but not necessarily for the 2021 season.
I understand that, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I am with that. So now, did the Eagles get better? That's one question. Now, let's talk about, what do you think the Eagles' season is going to be like? Like I said last year, 4-11-1. 4-11-1. Now, we know that we got Anthony Harris. We lost Jalen Mills. We lost Deshaun Jackson. We lost Alshon Jeffrey. We gained Flacco. We gained Ryan Kerrigan. We lost Vinny Curry. We lost Duke. We lost a lot of players too, like players that were contributors. Now we gained Eric Wilson, the player from the linebacker from the Vikings, right?
Vikings, yeah.
So we gain a lot of these players, but none of them are, I don't necessarily know if they're splash players. So when you consider that, what do you think our projected record would be? And do you think we have a chance to realistically to win the division?
Yeah, so I want to address that the additions, and particularly on the defense, because to me, like when I look at like Eric Wilson, Ryan Kerrigan, and Harrison, to me, those are guys that are more of like plug and play guys. Those are guys that are, I hate to use the term stopgap, but those are guys that they know the system that they're coming into. They can adjust to the system. They can change. They know how to study the film. They know what to look at. So there's not going to be a whole lot of new learning that they have to do. And so for me, I think that even though they're not necessarily splash players, I think that they can, if they stay healthy. Now they're older players, but if they can stay healthy, they can definitely help this team be successful. And really, that's what we need. We need consistency. We need on defense. We need consistency. We need, guys that are willing to make tackles, guys that are willing to do the dirty work, guys that are willing to come into work with their lunch pail, study film, and just put their head down and just go to work and grind. And that's what I like about the additions that we had defensive wise. And on offense, we need guys that are dogs. We talked about it multiple times. We need dogs. We need guys that are confident, guys that want the ball in their hands, and we need playmakers. And and if you consider it from that point of view, not knowing anything more than we know right now, scheme wise, I'm looking at it as, let's say, I think we'll be better than 4-11. I can see us having maybe a 9-7. Wait, we're 16 games.
9-8.
9-8.
9-8.
I can see us with a 9-8 season, and because we have a very tough schedule. I mean, it's going to be rough for a little stretch there, and I think that it can definitely. I think it's going to be a better season than we had last year, competition wise and fire wise, and I can see us 9-8. I would think that'll be a successful season. I think, me personally,
now we live in Philadelphia. 9-8 is gonna get somebody fired. So I disagree with you totally, but it is realistic. It is realistic that they could possibly go 9-8, 10-7, something like that. But or it can be worse than that. Which a lot of people are projecting that is going to be worse than that. When you look at all the some of the news networks and sports networks, the Eagles are finishing, right around that 5-7 win range, so 4-7 win range. Now, to get back to what you said, I love complimentary players. I love stopgap players. I was one of those players for a large portion of my career, and a guy that's going to come in, know the offense, not mess up a game, will do, like, if it comes down to a key or a crucial moment in the game, you're going to be in a position to make the right play. But I think the Eagles have too many of those. So that's the problem. And there's nothing wrong with having a guy that is a complimentary player or situational player, or a guy that isn't a splash player, right? That's fine. But you have to couple that with splash players. On defense, how many splash players do we have? We got Fletcher Cox, and we got Darius Slay potentially. Maybe Brandon. But it's going to be up some. So now we don't have a splash player in the back end of our defense, right? Rodney is a very, very good player. Harris is a very, very good player, but is not a person that's going to create a high volume of turnovers or interceptions or things like that they're going to get the ball back to make a difference in the game. Fletcher Cox can wreck the game. Brandon Graham, if Derek Barnett can generate some type of pass rush, can be very, very effective in it, right? But have we seen Brandon Graham go through and get, 11, 12, 15 sacks in the season? Usually when you start getting into that 15 sack range, you're in that elite category. But he's a very, very B+, A- player. So with that being said, I just think that we have too many of those. And let me explain that. So you have your Greg Wards, you have Dallas is maturing and getting there, but he's not at the Ertz level yet. You got Miles Sanders, who's a very, very splash player. Dallas, and they're right on borderline splash players. When you look on defense, you got Darius, you got those guys, but then you got a unproven Zach McPherson, you got Avonte Maddox. You got all of these guys that are very, very unproven. So when you look at the landscape of our roster, it's just too many good players and not enough. Too many, good to the guys in between the average and good range, rather than the guys in between the good and great range. And that's just my thought process.
I see what you're saying. I get that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So for me, I think that they will be somewhere around. I don't want to say this because I got to walk outside. Like I said, I think they're going to be somewhere around 7-10. That's tough.
That's still better than last. That's tough. But that's still better than last year.
It's tough. And the only way that the Eagles will be better is if they can get Steve Nelson, if they can figure out a way to get something now this year for Zach Ertz, if they can get Jalen Hurts playing at a very good pro level, meaning that he's the difference maker in the games with his throws. I think that'll be very special for me. If the Eagles can figure out a way to win the division and get in the playoffs, that's a total slam dunk season for this team. A total slam dunk for it. Like if they can win the division and get in the playoffs, it would be a slam dunk season for them. And it's kind of sad to say because we're usually looking at Super Bowl, but this year is not the most realistic.
Yeah.
Sorry, fans. I'm busting balls tonight.
No, but see, but that's the thing though. Like, and you got to look at it too. I mean, it's Sirianni's first year, right? As much as we love Andy Reid, he didn't go to the Super Bowl his first year. Doug won the Super Bowl, but he didn't go, to the playoff his first year. So, let's bring our expectations to a normal level. Philly fans, positive.
They're going to remind us, though.
Yeah,
once the team makes the playoffs, Jason and Q 7 and 9. They're going to remind us.
I feel like it's almost. I mean, if Sirianni goes to the playoffs in the first year, I think it's going to be a disaster. Why? It can be a disaster because now it's like okay, you did in the first year. You set the bar right there, right? Let's. You can't. So sometimes you want to feel like you build to the bar. If you start at the bar here, then it's like, where are you going from there, man? Like now it's you better get a Super Bowl. In Philly, it's like if you start here, we expecting it here next year.
Yeah, but you would have to literally, with this roster as constructed today, July 6, 2021, with the roster as is today, if this man takes them to the playoffs, I'm very happy with him as a coach. Very happy because I believe that he's been given the short end of the stick by management. And I believe that it's going to be very, very hard with this roster to get to that point unless we see a great Jalen Hurts. If we see a great Jalen Hurts, which he had, and ladies and gentlemen, hear me out. Hear me out. I'm looking closely. I know what I said. And I believe what I said. But if this kid shows any type of the potential that he was drafted for, now he was praised by Coach Reid, saying that he had the best workout that he's seen probably in the last 10 years for a quarterback. And Doug heard that, Howie heard that, the management heard that, and they drafted him. Now, with that being said, so if he unlocks his potential, and he goes out and takes this team to the playoffs, that's the answer. You don't need Deshaun Watson. You don't need anybody else. If he can take this team with Devontae Smith being the leading receiver and Jalen Reagor and those guys are good young players, but there are so many different things that they don't know right now. And if he can take this young group to the playoffs, man, stop it. Stop it. You might as well pay him now.
Get it done early.
Get it done. All right, so let's transition to the next team. Q, we're going to go over the Cowgirls.
I hate talking about the Cowgirls.
Ladies, forgive us for using the girl term there. All right, so let's talk about the Cowboys and what happened with them over there. Now, so the Cowboys had a lot of injuries last year, namely Dak Prescott. Mm-hmm. Dak Prescott suffering a season-ending injury. However, somehow he was able to get paid after the injury, a little bit less for money, but he got that deal done. He's coming back off injury, but he's back, so that only bolsters their chances of winning because they were balling. At least the offense was balling when he was in there. Yeah. So you have Dak back. Zeke Elliott hasn't been right since Dak got out of the game, since he left for the season. And he was, averaging, over 100 yards when Dak Prescott was behind center. But as soon as Dak Prescott left, all the burden was on him, less than 75 yards a game at running back. So, but Zeke will be back because Dak is back under center. You draft Micah Parsons. You have a great receiving core and Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and what's the other kid's name? I can't get off. It starts with a G.
Gallup.
Yep, Michael Gallup.
Michael Gallup.
So have a great receiving core with them, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they make out of this roster. So Q. With that being said, just a little back story with them. They re-signed Jordan Lewis. They lost Andy Dalton. They bring in Keanu Neal from the Falcons. We know him pretty well. They also bring in a few other guys, but I thought it was interesting. They lost a guy like Alden Smith, who played okay for them last year. But that's their transaction history. And with that being said, Q, what do you think about the Cowboys?
So to me, I've always felt right. So the Cowboys, to me, the main thing, like their offense has always been, I don't want to say always, but the last few years has been prolific. Kellen Moore, my guy, my Boise State guy. He's
Look
down
at
there,
this.
the OC. You know, I had to plug him, man.
Look at this.
He's the OC down there, and so they definitely do a good job offensively. And then when you lose a guy like Dak, it kind of shuts everything down, and you saw that last season. And assuming that he's back, which you never know how someone's going to come back. That injury that Dak had I almost threw up when I saw it. I don't like seeing stuff like that, and seeing it kind of depends on how he comes back and if he's willing to, get out the pocket and use his legs and, that whole deal. Cause that was a huge part of his game. So to me, this team, the offense has never been the problem. The injuries on the offensive line have been a huge problem. And if, assuming that they get healthy and stay healthy, their offense will be good to go.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest issue with Dallas has always been their defense. And for some reason, I don't know what it is. They just don't play good defense, and it's not a problem for me. I don't really care, but I am a little nervous that the guy that they brought in at DC is Dan Quinn, and Dan Quinn, say what you want about him as a head coach, as a defensive coordinator, he knows his stuff, and they're going to play that cover three that Legion of Boom, stuff they ran in Seattle. It's going to be cover three. He's going to have them coached up well, and they're going to know, exactly where to be and what to do. And so, when you bring in a guy like Keanu Neal, who's played in that system, he's going to be a plug and play type of guy. They bring in Kelvin Joseph out of Kentucky at cornerback, and Dallas has been struggling to draft a cornerback for years. I still don't think that Kelvin Joseph is the answer. I don't think that he's going to be what they think he is, but I think in this system with Dan Quinn at the helm, I think that he can definitely be okay there. Jabril Cox, they brought in from LSU. I think he's a kind of a freak athlete that can step in and help here and there. But really, to me, this team really the biggest move I saw for them in the offseason was bringing in Dan Quinn. And so, depending on how he gets those guys to play and if he can get them to follow what he's tossing out there, and if they played well in defense, they're going to be an issue to deal with. If they stay healthy on the O-line, their offense is hitting, and their defense does just enough not to lose games, and maybe make a couple big plays here and there, they're going to be a legit contender. And I hate to say that. Kills me to say something like that. Can't stand the Cowboys, but it's the truth right now.
Yeah. That's a lot to take in. Now, the Cowboys on offense over the last few years have had one of the best offenses on paper in the National Football League. So we know that that's going to continue because you can't play with Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is a route running machine. He will turn you every which way but loose. And you got Gallup, who's a speed guy down the field, who's a complement there. And then you add CeeDee Lamb, who's a mixture of the two. Not as fast as either of those guys, but definitely has the quicks, definitely has the tenacity to go and get the ball. So when you look at that and you add Zeke and you add Dak, and you may have a healthy Tyron Smith back, and I believe, right? So when you start getting guys back, and you start and you get a guy like Micah Parsons, who's projected to be a very, very special player.
Yeah.
You lose Chidobe Awuzie to the Bengals. You retain Trayvon Diggs. Now, when you start talking about Quinn and you talk about discipline, the Legion of Boom, one thing that they were in that cover 3 was discipline. They didn't get beat over the top. They had long, wiry, rangy corners. We thought we had one in Byron. We did not, but because he wanted to play man and stuff, it just wasn't. Byron Maxwell, everybody remember that. It was a terrible experience. But you had
he would. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, I don't know who. See, that's that stuff right there. That's the type of stuff.
He was an Oregon guy, right? Wasn't he from Oregon?
Listen, yeah, that's the stuff that makes you lose, right? Those types of things, man, it hurts you down the line. And you're stuck here in 2021. I can't blame it on Byron Maxwell, but so, and he had Richard Sherman on the other side. So now when you add Kelvin Joseph and you add Trayvon, you didn't add Trayvon Diggs, you still have Trayvon Diggs. Do you think Trayvon Diggs can play disciplined football like the Legion of Boom? I don't see that happening because his eyes are in the backfield. Studying these DBs over and over again, the one spot that you always have, that kid is a high turnover machine. And I believe once he learns how to play, he's going to be a Pro Bowler for probably 5 or 6 times in his career. But until he gets disciplined, is Dan Quinn that guy that takes him to a different level? If you're telling me that Quinn is that guy to change it for a guy like Trayvon Diggs, that's a scary thought, because the kid only needs technique. Yes. That's the only thing that he needs, because he sees the ball extremely well. So that's a scary thought to me.
And so, but in the thing, like you mentioned with Quinn, one of and you just made me, it's kind of jogging my memory, but one of the main, I want to say, strengths of this Cowboys team has been their front 4, and losing Alden Smith, and then Tyrone Crawford retiring. You still have Demarcus Lawrence coming back, but that front 4 isn't what it used to be. And yes, you have Parsons. Yes, you still have Jalen Smith. Van Der Esch, I'm not sure how he's coming back with his neck injury. I think he's going to be okay this season. So the linebacking core is going to be set. A guy like Trayvon, if he's able to just hold off just enough for the front 4 to get some pressure, I think he'll be okay. I think he can develop. And if Quinn can get him out of his bad habits, like you say, but if there's no pressure, if let's say it's with the cover 3, if you're not getting front 4 pressure, it's going to be a long day. So Quinn he's not Superman. So
you're not Superman.
Grimes better learn how to study film.
And
not look at everything, be jumping on everything. So, or maybe we want him to.
Yeah, we want him to, but the chances of it with Quinn is he's going to get better. So I mentioned all those things. So I think that their roster is as we stand today, their roster is better than our roster. But that doesn't take away that the Eagles always have more heart than the Cowboys. And that's the thing, right? So we can look at roster, and we can look at the Cowboys roster for the last 15 years and say, how do we beat them every year or beat them consistently over the last 20 years? Is that it comes down to grit. It comes down to toughness. You know that the Cowboys are going to quit. I remember a couple of years ago when I seen Amari Cooper literally quit in the last game of the season against the Eagles, when the Eagles went to the playoffs, right? So and lost the first round of the Seahawks, but they literally quit the game.
I remember
that. And so when you add that dynamic in there, I believe the Eagles are going to compete with them, even though their roster is better. So now, what do you think their projected record is going to be? Last year they were 6-10.
Honestly, I think they're at least a 10-11 game.
With Dak healthy.
Yeah, with Dak healthy, assuming Dak's healthy, they're going to win at least 10-11 games next year, and they're going to be.
Yeah, you saying 10-7 or 11-6?
I'm going to say 11-6, more along that line. If Dak is healthy, they're going to be in play for the division title, I think.
I don't like this right now.
I know. I hate to say it. What about you?
The Cowboys always figure out a way to mess stuff up.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that I don't think that the Cowboys are with the division winner last year, Washington Redskins, 7-9. I don't think that they're going to be able to pull away from the division like that. The division's been bad for a couple of years. So I think if the Eagles are going to be in a 7-win range, I don't see the Cowboys surpassing 9 wins.
Okay.
So and I don't necessarily and that may win the division. They can very well win the division. So I'm going to say that they're going to be 9-8.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I am. So 9-8, 11, and it's not too far off, but 9-8. That's what I think. So I think that's what they've been doing the last couple of years. It's scary though, man, because when you add a few players on their team, and you had a few guys like you had Keanu Neal, who's been a Pro Bowl safety. He's older. So Jordan Lewis is going to be he's a solid nickel. Michigan in the house, University of Michigan representing.
Had to plug that.
Had to plug it. And then you lose a few guys, but we'll see how it goes. All right, let's go to our next team, Q. All right, and I'm going to talk about this team.
Okay.
All right, we're going to talk about the Giants. All right, the Giants last year surprised everyone with how good they were during the mid portion of the season. They lost a few games late, which caused them to lose out on the division crown. I think that they were the best team in the NFC last year, and they were heading in the right direction. I have to give Joe Judge a ton of credit last year with the way he had that defense playing. Last year, they were top 10 in defense, and that was unheard of. I thought that they have a few secondary players that no one knows about that are playing extremely well. Their nickel there is outstanding. Actually, a very young player. He was in his first or second year last year. And then you got the kid that came from Carolina. His name is Bradshaw.
Bradbury.
Bradbury. Who played extremely well. And he gets his hand on a lot of footballs. It's kind of weird because he doesn't pick off a lot of passes, but he gets his hand on a lot of balls. And he's very, very long, and he matches up with guys. So I like them in the secondary. Mm-hmm. So their defense played extremely well. Then you add, Kenny Golladay, who is a very good receiver. I don't think that he's an elite receiver, but I think that he's in that B category receiver range, right? Yeah. That he can possibly make a Pro Bowl. He is proven. He got paid a lot of money to go there. You got a Dory Jackson. You got a Dory Jackson that came there. You got Kyle Rudolph that came there.
I forgot about him. Yeah.
We know him from the Minnesota Vikings. You got an experiment, a guy that hasn't shown that he can catch the ball consistently, but he was a first-round pick, and he broke the combine record in John Ross with a 4.22, something like that.
4.22, yeah, 4.22,
4.22. Yeah, so you have a little speed there. You got Mike Glennon as a backup quarterback to Daniel Jones. You bring in Danny Shelton, who was a first-round pick a long time ago. Now, these guys like Ross and Shelton, there's potential there, but somewhere along the lines, they can't converted into being a successful player. So, but they're experienced. I think they're good experience for this type of team. So I give their offseason. I thought they had a very, very good offseason. When you add Kevin Zeitler in there, or losing Kevin, they lost Kevin Zeitler. I said that wrong. So when you consider those two guys, Kenny Golladay, Adoree Jackson, they even got a old guy of ours, Corey Clement. He's on their roster. Corey Clement.
Wow, is he?
Yeah, he's on their roster. It's weird. It'd be weird seeing Corey Clement on their roster.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It'd be weird seeing him on the roster. So when you look at their offseason, and then they got a kid that a lot of people viewed as one of the best receivers in the draft, in Kadarius Toney from Florida. we talked about him, and I said that he was more of a specialty type of gadget player. But a lot of people think that he's going to be a legit player, and he very well could be, because you never know how that type of player pans out. Can he learn the nuances of playing receiver? You got Saquon Barkley back, which was big. So they almost win the division last year. Howbeit, it's a terrible division last year, but Saquon Barkley was nowhere to be found. So when you add him back in the mix of on a team that's actually a team and not just the Saquon Barkley show, we'll see if he can get back to form. But I know that it's not going to be just him. I think that Daniel Jones is, if you protect him, he can throw the ball just as good as any quarterback in this league. If you don't, he shows he does what young people do, is turn the ball over. And how about him falling down?
Oh my gosh. You kind of feel bad for him. I mean, I know this is a giant, but that's
game. Like, you lose the game because you fell down. There was nobody chasing him but Nicole Roby-Coleman, and he can't. I can like you can run faster than him. Most people can't. I was about to say I could, but I can't. But
yo, that's gonna be part of his low light reel forever.
Yeah, it's not as bad as Mark Sanchez butt fumble though.
Oh yeah, nothing's worse than that. Yeah. But it's probably close.
It's close to it though, because you take that play out, and then you take the drop by Ingram. That's crazy. That would have been the game that they needed in order to win the division. Couple plays, come down a couple plays.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
And I never watched a whole lot of Detroit last year. I didn't watch a lot of their games, but I just kept hearing about Galladay. And you just kind of gave a brief overview of him. Can you give me a breakdown of him? Because I've never really watched him. I just felt like he just kind of came out of nowhere. And I don't know if it's a situation where, like, you know how sometimes a guy becomes a free agent at the right time and they're just they're the number one guy because they're the only one available. And I kind of felt like that was the situation here. What do you think of Galladay, like, as a player?
Yeah. So Galladay played for only 5 games last year, but in his previous years, we're talking about like a 4.4, 4.5 guy, right? Has had some history with hamstring injuries, but he's a bigger target. He is not like a dynamic mover, but he uses his body well, and he goes and high points the ball extremely well. So if you can imagine a faster Travis Fulgham, he's a big body. He's a little bit faster than Travis Fulgham, and he's a little bit more polished route runner, just a touch more. But in that same category, just faster than Travis Fulgham. But he is a touchdown machine, right? Yeah. So, 2019, 11 touchdowns. So from what I've seen, he was always on a deep post, always catching the jump ball, just big target, big throw, that type of kid. He's not a break you down receiver. He's nothing that a cornerback is going to be afraid of. He's one of those guys that will beat you slowly and not know it. Yeah. Like I'm trying to give a perfect example of a guy that we play with. You remember Miles Austin in his heyday? Nobody's ever afraid of Miles Austin.
Or like a Houshmandzadeh, a guy like that.
Well, he's not as Houshmandzadeh was limited. Yeah. Galladay is a little bit faster than those guys.
Okay.
Alshon with the Bears. That's that comes up. But Alshon was still not as dynamic as Galladay, even though Galladay is not dynamic, but he's faster. So I'm trying to give a really good comparison of Galladay to somebody that you would know. Yeah, that's just so awkward silence.
I could see Alshon.
It's like I'm being fair, Allen Robinson, but I've seen too much of Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson actually is a route runner. He's a big body, but Allen Robinson will shake your face off. And Galladay doesn't have that ability to do so, right? So he's not a break you down type of play basketball with your receiver. Allen Robinson actually can do that, and he did it at Penn State pretty well, even though he's a big body. So going up and getting the ball, sort of like a Allen Robinson, but he's faster than Allen Robinson, and he doesn't have the dexterity and movement of Allen Robinson. So I don't think that he's a special player. I really don't, because I've seen him drop a lot of important passes. But he catches a lot of touchdowns. So when you catch a lot of touchdowns, it matters.
Slay gonna lock him down. We ain't got to worry about it.
Slay can possibly lock him down. Yes,
that's what I want to
hear. And if they've been on the same team, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a lockdown job. It's very, very hard to get open, ladies and gentlemen, on guys you played against for a long period of time. Absolutely. Like I used to hate when Jose Leo, you play somebody like Jose Hansen, and you used to beat him every day for 3 years, and then finally he catches on. You know what I mean? So, or Brandon Boykin, or somebody like that were on your team for years, and they go to the Steelers. You're like, dude, like, you know all my moves. You know, so yes. Do I think that Slay will lock him down? Yes, he should. If he's been in the locker room that long, you should be able to lock him down. So that's kind of like my overview of the Giants, man. I think that the Giants will be a contender for the division. I think that Joe Judge is the truth. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in Daniel Jones.
Really?
But you don't need Daniel Jones as much when you got Saquon Barkley back. You just need him to make the best throws. And it's hard to blame that on Daniel Jones when you got a guy like Golden Tate who's stealing. He's stealing.
That's what you got to do at the end, man. When you're at the end of the
road. Maybe I'm just bitter. I'll be hating. I'm mad. Certain stuff I'm mad at. Last year, this is what happened last year with Golden Tate. He comes here, terrible move by our front office by getting Golden Tate. We already had a slot guy in Aguilar, and just try to figure him out and put him in there. Just a big name that they thought was a big name. I'm like, dude, it's a terrible decision. Mm-hmm. So he didn't play that well here. Did get us a critical win over the Bears on the last play with a Q8 option that he forgot, and that I knew right in the moment. I'm like, dude, he don't know the play. And Nick is rolling out. He just runs out and catches the ball, but he literally forgot the play and ended up catching the touchdown because of Nick Foles. And people don't know that the play with the Bears and that second playoff run by Nick Foles, when Golden Tate caught the game-winning touchdown, he did not know the play, ladies and gentlemen. And I knew it right away because that's the play that we run a million times. There's QA option. Roll sprint left, sprint right, and the slot receiver goes up a little bit and then runs straight for the pylon. He's looking inside, looking back at the quarterback, and then he saw Nick rolling to him and ran out. And Nick still hit him. And so that's what that improv right there, which makes Nick Foles very, very special in the moment like that. That was only a basketball player type of move. It's not on time. It's not when you want it. You just throw it out there and make a play. He waited on him and everything. Threw it at the last second with a guy in his face, touchdown.
That's crazy.
So to get back to Golden Tate, he's stealing, and they finally got rid of him this year. but when you have a guy like Golden Tate and you have Darius Slayton, he killed us last year too.
Yeah, he did.
Slayton killed us.
You got Shepard. You got Shepard coming back too, right? Shepard's coming off injury.
Shepard's coming off injury. Yeah, so you got a good receive. That's a solid receiving core.
Yeah.
Slayton, Galladay, and Sterling Shepard is a solid receiving core. That's up there with one of the better ones in our division. So that's solid.
We won't talk about the Slayton thing. I don't want to get. We don't want to talk about that one. Slayton last year against us.
Slayton killed us last year. Slayton killed us. Took us to school. To school. That's in 4-3. And he knows that the Eagles can't run with him, so that's gonna be a problem. That'll be a problem. Letting y'all know.
Just PI him.
Just. All right, so I think they got better. So with their draft and with the players that they've acquired, I think they've gotten better. I think that they're going to be right in that 9-10 win range as well, Q. So I think that the Cowboys, the Giants, and we're going to get to the Redskins next week. Let's get some questions, man.
Okay.
Let's get to some
That's
questions.
fine. Yeah.
We'll do the Redskins next week. We'll preview the Redskins next week. So right now, you guys hate to hear this, but I got the Eagles in third right now because we didn't do the Redskins.
Positive vibes, right? Lower our expectations.
Oh, sorry.
And then be pleasantly surprised.
Sorry, hold on. I made a mistake by saying Redskins.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Team. It's the football team.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's
you went along with it too.
That's going to be hard.
This is the second year of this. We should be better at this. The football team.
It's tough,
so,
man.
but the football team is supposed to announce its new name soon.
They need to do something soon because it's too hard, man. It's just like it's like you're so used to just saying it that you don't even realize you saying it.
We're gonna get over it.
Yeah, we can do anything.
Right. All right. So first question, Q. We're gonna go right into it. Anthony W. Jason and Quintin, what can players, especially young players, do during the offseason to improve significantly from year to year? I know Jason has been skeptical about how much of a difference it makes to do things like quarterback workouts with receivers, except to build rapport. So beyond the basics of staying in shape, what can make a real difference? Drills, mechanics, and technique, intensive film study. What makes a difference, Q?
I think it depends. So I think it depends on what level you're at. If we're talking, let's say 6th grade to freshman year in high school, I would say the most important part is obviously being in shape, and doing drills and working on mechanics and not so much technique. So, when you're in the age where you're kind of growing and you're hitting growth spurts and you got a little bit of the, chubby kid fat and all that stuff, like that's the time where you want to work on your mechanics. You want to work on your motor skills, obviously getting in shape. So to me, that's the most important thing. And I would say, like, if you're in high school age, so you're a freshman to, a senior, that's where it's all of those, right? You're working on getting in shape. You're working on your drills. You're working on the mechanics, and technique is where this starts to come into play. And a little bit of I don't want to say intensive film study, but a little bit of film study. But technique, mechanics, and the drills and stuff when you're in high school are the most important, because that's where you're almost fully developed. You're not growing as much anymore or not as fast anymore. And so now you can kind of settle into your body and kind of really fill out, work on what works for you and learn your body and your techniques and how you can run. And then I would say if you're at the college level, it's all of those, right? And you're at the college level or, post high school, film study because you have more time, but film study because you can spend with other people or a coach or someone else to kind of break down and then explain to you a little bit further, what you should be looking at or how you should be looking on the film. So I think it kind of is like a step-by-step process, but obviously at the, towards the later end of the spectrum, you want to have all four of those encompassing. For me, not to go too long, but for me personally, if I'm in the NFL and I'm in the off season, my first thing is I'm resting. I'm taking 2 weeks. I do this every year. I would take 2 weeks and I wouldn't do nothing. And then after the 2 weeks, I would start doing like maybe twice a week. I would do, 20 minutes on the bike and lifting. And then I would gradually get back into, form in terms of working all that stuff. So
yeah,
it's, it's everybody's kind of got their own system, but that's how I would break it down. What about you?
Well, I learned a lot right there when it comes to the kids, younger age. As far as I'm not going to do the younger age because I think you got a better heartbeat on it. Me, I'm going to do from a pro's perspective. So let's back up to what he said, Jason, you don't, necessarily believe in it. Now, I'm talking about the timing and of the quarterback and receivers getting together and throwing. I think it's more for show because it's very, very hard to get timing without an actual live defense or people that are lined up against you, because it's not the same time on air. There's no pass rush. There's no clock in your head. It's the perfect scenario, and the perfect scenario happens less than 1% of the time in the National Football League. It just does not happen. So from that standpoint of timing and, real life simulation is going to get you better prepared to play an NFL football game, it's null and void. It doesn't matter. Now, when it comes to technique and learning, okay, what foot should I stop on if I'm going to do the curl? Like, what's going to be my break step? That will help you. Practicing your weaknesses. I think that's where guys get better. So if you know, and if you're self-aware, this is where having someone, a mentor, a coach, someone that knows you, someone that you can trust to really analyze your game. And you can do it yourself if you're not afraid to look at yourself in the mirror and give yourself an honest critique. You got to be willing to do that as a player. And the players that's okay with telling themselves the truth about their play and their weaknesses, because a lot of times the players want to glorify their strengths. They always want to do stuff that's to their strengths. They don't want to put their left hand on top when they're going to catch a pass, right? Because when you put your left hand on top, it's a harder catch because you're right hand dominant. When your right hand's on top, it's an easier catch for a right hander. And it's the same way when you're catching low ball. So there's weaknesses, there's blind spots when it comes to catching. There is things that you may be better at than other. Like you may be better in the box. Let me work on my range and locating and running toward the sideline, whatever it is, whatever your weakness is, by you with someone that you trust, and also your self-aware eye, pick 2 or 3 things that you know that you struggle with and focus on that throughout the summer. For me, when I first got to the NFL, I realized that, damn, my quarterback misses. When he misses low. He does not miss high. So instead of me arguing with the quarterback or my receiver coach saying, man, the quarterback should bring the ball up, should throw, because that's what when Don would miss low. And he would miss low and hard. So what I would do is I would turn the jug machine up till everybody else is uncomfortable, and I would point it at my shoelaces and get used to it. And I wouldn't complain about it. I would run full speed at it, low pass, and I would figure out, okay, I need to get my leg out of the way if the ball's coming at that angle. Oh, if I'm running to it at this side, I got to keep running through and it'll be fine. And I've made some of the best catches of my life on low passes, plucked it like with literally a blade of grass underneath with 2 pinkies, because I put the time in for those types of things. Like that was my mindset. Oh, my left hand is a weak area on this side of the field in this position. I'm gonna work on that this summer. Oh, if I break step off my left foot on my 5th step on a curl route, I'm gonna get out of it in 3 steps. Like those are the things, like looking at my routes and saying, okay, I did that in 5 steps. How can I make that 3 steps? Because anything that's under 10 yards, it should take you 3 steps to stop. Anything over 10 yards, it should not take you more than 4 steps if you're efficient. Right? So Jerry Rice would look like he was taking 3 steps at 10, 15, 20 yards down the field. He was actually taking 4 steps every time. He would break, and you can't tell that was his break step. And then he'd go 1, 2, 3. And if you don't put that time in and care about that stuff, because just think about that. 1 step makes a big difference between a catch. Because the DB's feet are immaculate, Q. Immaculate. And a lot of DBs, especially corners in this league, safeties too, but their feet are amazing. So that means that the chances are that they can stop faster than you is very high. You got the advantage because you know when you're going to stop, but if you take an extra stop, you just gave back the advantage that you had. So I would literally take 2 or 3 things that's a weakness in my game. My coach can notify me of what that is. I can look at it and see and work on those 2 to 3 things. And next year, something else is going to rise. Every year, something's going to rise. And until you are, it's always going to be something. Tom Brady has a weakness in his game, and he works on it all the time.
Yep.
So that's what I would do.
Hold on though. I gotta say something, man.
What?
Because you just kind of glossed over it like it wasn't nothing. Well, you said you turned the jugs machine up all the way. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, if you've ever stood in front of a jugs machine, it takes a lot of heart to turn that thing all the way up. And it takes even more heart to turn that thing all the way up and point it at your feet.
Whoa. I wouldn't turn it up to 100, but I would turn it up to the max that a human being can throw.
Listen, I would barely turn it on, and that was enough. That was enough for me. That thing looks like a cannon coming out of that thing. Listen, that is amazing right there. That right there is something that a lot of people don't understand. It takes a lot of courage to do stuff like that. That ball comes out of there so fast, and you turn it up. You put in the work. I just wish that people understood how difficult that is. That's amazing right there, man.
No, look, it's glory to God. But the thing is that no, and people don't put the time in to figure out their weaknesses. They rather be around people that's going to tell them, hey man, you the best thing since sliced bread. Hey man, let's go out to Miami. Let's do this. Like you the man now. Like they would rather hear, oh man, you led the league in touchdowns, rather than saying, hey, you know what? You may have led the league in touchdowns, but you missed about 5 or 6. Let's figure out how to get that 5 or 6 back. Right. So instead of making it. So I remember my most expensive purchase when I first got, like, you know, it was maybe in my second year. I told Greg, I said, one of the guys in the equipment room, I said, dude, I want to buy a jug machine. He's like, what do you need a jug machine for? Well, you can be jug. I was like, no, when y'all not here and y'all tripping about this jug machine, I can get it shot to me at home. My brother can shoot it to me. And I had this little bitty backyard, and I didn't have enough room to shoot the jug machine out of, in the backyard. So I had to put it inside the house underneath a deck. Right. So wow. it would come from like the patio door underneath the deck out into the sun. So it was like a natural blind spot.
Wow.
so and we used to get it in like every day and just get used to it. Like get used to catching it, get used to seeing it, get used to it coming out of nowhere. And that's the part. Like people like, how do you miss that? It's so many hands that are going past the football in the National Football League. Like, first of all, the linemen are humongous. The dudes are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", or whatever it is. They're humongous. And you got a 5-yard crossing route. And the dudes in front of you that's standing up is 6'5", 6'6", and the deep line. And then there's hands going underneath the balls like this constantly, and the ball's coming like so. There's always something you can work on in the National Football League. So that's my thing. You can always find it. Figure out your weakness and do it.
I like it.
Yeah. You got this next question, Q?
Yeah, I got you, buddy. So this one's from Andy S. Oh, this is a good one. He said, if you were picking your all-time NFL team, who would be your first pick on defense and who would be your first pick on offense?
Okay. If I were picking an all-time NFL team, I'm not going to belabor this. If I was picking an all-time NFL team, now the key part of that is he didn't say who's the best player. He said team, right? Because I believe that the best player doesn't always have the most impact on the team. So when he's talking about most impact on a team, and if you're picking a team, on defense, you got to pick a defensive end. On offense, you got to pick a quarterback. I don't think that those two are are necessarily the best players, but I think that's the two most important positions on the football field to me. So I'm going to pick Reggie White on defense. If I have an all-time great defense, I don't know if I've ever seen a player more dominant between Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor. And I said I'm going to go with Reggie White, the Philadelphia Eagles. But Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White were two of the most dominant players ever. And Reggie White, I probably would pick Reggie White. And then so he's going to affect the game for me and get the ball back. And rush the quarterback and put pressure on him, make him uncomfortable consistently. He's going to do it all game. And if you don't block him with two people, it's going to be a close to sack every time. Okay. One of the most powerful humans I've ever seen on a football field is Reggie White. I've never seen nothing like it from a defensive end standpoint. He's like literally like the strongest defensive end maybe to ever play this game.
Yeah. He's freak.
Yeah. I've never seen nothing like it. On offense, I'm limited to quarterback. I think the best player that ever played the game of football, is Jerry Rice. I think Jerry Rice is the best player that has ever laced up cleats. I'm biased because he's a receiver. But when you consider the yards after the catch, when you consider the touchdown in comparison to the offenses that we're playing in now and how easy it is to score a touchdown with all the rules that are against you, and then you look at Jerry Rice's numbers when they can grab your face mask, they can impede your progress, they can hold you, they can do everything. You look at his numbers playing in that time and then compare it to what he would do in this time, man, he would have had another 50 touchdowns. Like, so when you can, and he's still leading everybody by 50 to 100 touchdowns, like the greats. Like, so when you consider that, like Jerry Rice is on a different level. But for team's sake, I would go Tom Brady.
Okay.
So the best player to me to ever lace them is Jerry Rice. But for this question, if I'm starting the team, because you have to go with a quarterback over a receiver, because I don't want to get stuck with Boomer Esiason. Right, you got to go with. I can always find another, a comparable receiver. I can go down line and get Randy Moss. I can go down line, but I can't go down line and get,
Why you do Boomer like that, man?
Yeah,
See, lefties, man.
Joe Namath, the biggest hoax in history. He called his shot with the Super Bowl and made the Hall of Fame. You ever look at Joe Namath's numbers?
Oh,
stop it. Namath should not be in the Hall of Fame.
It's because he was in New York. That's the main reason.
Yeah, but anyhow, so
that's about it. So it's funny. I think we interpreted the question very similarly. So defensive player. So I looked at it as I was looking at it as we're building a team, and I always was taught, and I've always believed that you build a team in the trenches. So my two on offense and defense are in the trenches, and so for me, I agree with you on the first thing that came to my mind was Reggie White. I love Reggie White for all the reasons why you said his hump move was ridiculous. I mean, he did boom, and it didn't matter if he was in front of him, beside him. It didn't matter if you had two people on or three people. But you already broke him down, so I'll let you have him. Let's assuming that this is a draft. So the next best defensive end is Lawrence Taylor, and so I'm looking at LT. God, freak of nature. Obviously a wild boy. So obviously in the locker room, you have to have surrounded with some good vets. Some guys that keep you from getting in trouble. But LT. Coming off the edge, wreaking havoc on everyone. So that would be my pick, defensive end. And for offense, like I said, I'm starting in the trenches. And originally I was going to go Anthony Munoz, but I don't know. I started to think about it, and I'm like, I wanted someone that was closer to my time. And to me, I'm thinking Orlando Pace. Orlando Pace. I remember when he came out of Ohio State. He was, I want to say he ran like a 4.6 or something. He was like 6'5", 6'6", 300 some pounds, tremendous athlete, crazy athletic, could make any block, run block, pass block. Definitely a guy that you want protecting your quarterback, even if it is Boomer Esiason. I would have to go with him just because, he's a guy he'll play, 10, 12, 13 years. Be a phenomenal stalwart end for you for a decade plus, and so that would be my two first picks on offense and defense to build my team. Assuming,
I like yours. I like Orlando Pace. Orlando Pace is nice, but I wouldn't go with Orlando Pace. I can't put Orlando Pace over Anthony Munoz. I just couldn't. But I disagree with myself. I'm going back. I got to put Joe in there. I think Joe. I got to put Joe. I would go with Joe.
Joe
Montana.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I would have to go with Joe Montana.
All right. Joe.
Yeah, I would have to go with Joe Montana. So it would be Tom Brady or Joe Montana, and I'm gonna go with Joe Montana.
So you're telling me? So growing up, you was a Niner fan. That's what you're telling me.
You know, I wasn't a Niner fan growing up. I didn't know much about football growing up, right? So I learned the game a little bit after. You know, but I did play video games, and I probably did play with the Niners.
But yeah, everybody did. Sure, I remember Tecmo Bowl. Everybody played with Bo Jackson. Remember Bo Jackson Tecmo Bowl?
Run up and down the screen.
Ain't nobody tackled him. All right. So that's good picks, though. I like it, man. You did your thing there. I mean,
no, it's all good.
You had some good picks there. So
you took Orlando Pace. Orlando Pace may have been the most hyped lineman that ever came out.
What? He was phenomenal.
I'm not saying that he wasn't. I'm just saying that he had the height, though. For linemen, linemen don't get the height like that. He was actually up for the Heisman. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like I believe he was a great player. I'm not taking anything away from him. It just jogged my memory on how much praise an offensive lineman got during that time. You just don't see that anymore. Like you just don't. Like larger than life personality, Orlando Pace. Up for the Heisman.
You just mad because he went to Ohio State.
Hey,
that's really what.
Yeah, he sucks. He sucks. I'll take Anthony Munoz, Jonathan Ogden.
I forgot about man. Okay,
Will Shields. I'll take one of them.
You can't go wrong. Bottom line is it started in the trenches.
Really well. Yeah.
Right,
it started. Yeah, starting trenches. Yeah. Unless you got Michael Vick. No, I'm just.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
All right. What's the next question? All right, John C. Is it John C? I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys believe potential replacements are already on the roster for some of the aging veterans on the team, or is it too soon to tell? So hold on. Before we do that, let's think about the aging veterans. You got Fletcher Cox, that's aging. You got Zach Ertz, that's aging. You have Kelsey, that's aging. You have Lane Johnson, who's aging. Darius Slay, aging. You have Brandon Graham, that's aging. Am I missing out on anyone?
Rodney
McLeod. Aging. All right. So if we go down that list, do we have a replacement for Fletcher Cox? No. Mm-hmm. Do we have a replacement for Zach Ertz?
Dallas.
Yes. You got Dallas. So you 1 for 2.
Okay.
Jason Kelsey, do you have a replacement?
Landon, if he stays healthy, yeah.
Landon Dickerson's definitely, if he can stay healthy, is definitely suitable to replace.
Yes.
Lane Johnson.
No, we don't have.
Here's the problem with this, because this is what frustrates you, is because when you miss on picks, it messes up this question. This is why I like this question, because when you go down and you start to look at the aging guys you have and you go down, and if you hit on the right amount of picks, right? If you hit on the right amount of picks, you're going to have a guy that can replace one of these guys in 2 to 3 years. But when you miss on guys like Dillard, or you miss on guys like Josh Sweat, which is starting to come around now, but when you miss on these guys over and over and over again, it's going to be hard to have better than a 7-win season in 2021. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
So, Jack, they like Jack Driscoll. and he's going to be a good player, but he's no Lane. Lane's athletically, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Lane is a freak of nature when it comes to being an athlete. He is.
And I wanted to add one. Sorry, Brandon Brooks too. That's another one.
Yeah, Brandon Brooks. All right. So now I'm going to shut up and let you go. So we got Fletcher.
You don't know what we have yet, so it's unsure. I mean, we drafted Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
What, third round?
Yeah, Milton
Williams, third round, right? Was it third round?
And then yeah.
And so you don't know yet. So I would say not sure. I mean, is that an? I would say no. I would say no for right now. Just
I'm not letting you get away with that. Not sure. The reason I'm not is because you're talking about one of the top 5 defensive players in the National Football League. There's no way in hell Milton Williams is going to be a top 5 defensive player right now. So we don't have anybody that can replace him. Right?
Good point.
Just
Good
can't.
point. Yes. Yeah.
Right. So Zach, I think he's replaced. But what do you think on that?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Dallas. If he stays healthy, I feel like I'm saying like a lot of like if that's the thing. That's the issue. I
think Goddard's been held back for a long time now. It's his time to shine. He's been held back long enough. I think that he's always done more with the ball in his hand, and just hadn't had the opportunities. Now he has to stay healthy, stay away from anonymous right hands, and we'll be good. We'll be good.
Oh, you do some hand fighting with the D line.
You gotta watch your stuff. You know they jealous up there where you're from, man. Up there in the country land up there.
Can't be going home, right? Can't be going home. Even the North Dakota. It's crazy everywhere.
Just jealous. That was somebody girl. He he took somebody girl back in the day. He's like, man, you remember you took Rachel? Bah! I really loved her. Got it. Well, you stop messing around.
Cold game out there, man.
Cold game. She give me money. Let me stop it. All right, so
all right, man.
Let me stop.
He's crazy.
So, Kelsey. All right, we got Kelsey, Landon, right? So Lane Johnson, Dillard, or Jack Driscoll, Jordan Mailata.
No.
Nope. Darius Slay.
No.
Nope. You got Zach. He's unproven. Later round pick. We'll see. Not later. There was that third round.
I think
fourth.
I think he's 4.
Brandon Graham.
No.
I think they're close. The reason I say I think they're close because I don't know if Josh Sweat is ever going to come out of his show just because of his injury history, but Josh Sweat he's a talent. I see why they drafted him. Yeah. Like I told you, just watching him in practice, his get off is way different than everybody else's. His arms are different than everyone else's. He's the only one that looks like a potential Pro Bowler type of defensive end that they got on their team. But his knees are shot, and I don't necessarily know if it will ever get better. So that's his limitation is his health. All right, Rodney McLeod.
No, we don't have
a. Nope. Brandon Brooks.
No, I don't even know.
This is tough. This is tough, right? Because if you think about it, Landon Dickerson can play guard.
Yeah.
Isaac, they love Isaac.
Right, but he's starting.
Coach Stout loves Isaac. Then you got,
No, I was just saying, but he's starting on the left side.
We don't know how that's going to shake out. We don't know. There's a bunch of guys. You got Mailata and Dillard competing.
Yeah,
Isaac can also move out to tackle.
I don't see him at tackle.
He isn't, but he ain't much of a difference between those two at tackle.
Very true.
Yeah, you know. So and then you got Dickerson. You got it's a lot of guys. I don't think that you got a replacement for Brandon Brooks, because Brandon Brooks was the best guard in football the last time he played a full season.
Very true. Very true.
So I don't necessarily know if you got a replacement. So, ladies and gentlemen, the question that came up, out of the replaceable, out of the players. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 aging veterans. Out of the 8, we have 2 replacements.
There you have it. Wow.
We got a possible in Josh Sweat, but the only replacements that you have is Dallas Goedert and Landon Dickerson. That's not a good sign. And that's why I said that the team got better for 2023 through 2024, but for 2021, not so much.
Yeah.
Here, let's roll these out real fast, Q.
Let's do one more.
Let's do one more. Okay,
yeah.
Go ahead. Which one do you want to choose?
Let me see. Hang on.
You want to do we can say that one. That Chris C is a good question. Let's do Ryan W.
Yeah.
Or did you want to do the opposite? You do the opposite?
Let's do Chris C, because the Ryan W one's gone. All right. So this is from Chris C. You got this one or mine?
I got you. I'll let you answer this. Are there unfair expectations on Jalen Hurts this year? It seems if he doesn't have a good year, the Eagles and fans will want to trade for Deshaun Watson or trade up for a top pick and draft a quarterback. It seems quite unfair considering a very young receiver core, a new coaching staff, and an O-line that hasn't been consistent. Q, I'm gonna let you go ahead with this, but Deshaun Watson is a superior player, and this is where I love the Eagles more than I love a player, and sometimes we get that kind of messed up because we want to choose Foles or Wentz or Hurts. Like, we make it about the person. We're so one-track mind in our country. It's so Wentz or Hurts, Wentz or Foles, Republican, Democrat, black or white. Like, we can't be in between. We can't have a compromise. We can't be no, it's about the good of the team. And if Deshaun Watson is available, Deshaun Watson is available. So, and I love Jalen Hurts. I love him as a person. Love him as a player, young talent. But the best thing for the team, if Deshaun Watson is available now or next year, unless Jalen Hurts just balls, Deshaun Watson is the player that's going to lead the franchise for the next 10 years.
Absolutely.
But go ahead.
Yeah, no, and the thing that people need to understand too is that that's not a slight to Hurts. It's not a slight. It's not a saying that he's chopped liver.
No,
it's just that Deshaun Watson is that dude, and it's not saying that Hurts can't be that guy. But if you got the opportunity to get a player at that level, on the top, arguably definitely top 5 quarterbacks in the league that can definitely take your team to the next level and above and beyond, then you do that. And so, that's the way I look at it. So to answer the question from my point of view on Hurts specifically, is it fair? This
is a tough one.
This is the position, right? This is what comes with that position, the quarterback position. And Hurts knows that. I mean, this is part of playing quarterback. This is everyone's eyes are on you. You are the face of the franchise. You are the reason they win. And the reason they lose. Or I should say, you're never the reason they win and the reason that they do lose. And so that's part of what comes with being the quarterback in the National Football League. That's what comes with being a quarterback on any team, on Pop Warner team.
Mm-hmm.
And so, is it fair? No, it's not fair, but that's what comes with the position, and he knows it, and he signed up for it, and that's how it goes. And Philly fans, Eagles fans, we've said it before. They are some of the most, rabid, but at the same time, in the know fans in the NFL, in all of football. They know what's going on, so they understand the game. They understand, they understand the issues with the line. They understand the inconsistent play call, and they understand the inconsistencies with the receiving core. They understand all that stuff. And so, is it fair? Is it not fair? It doesn't matter. This is part of the game, and he signed up for it. And so, I'm not looking at it that way. He knows what's going on. He understands it, and he's got to step up to it, and he'll be the first one to tell you. I believe he'll be the first one to tell you I didn't get the job done. And so that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, so there it is, and that's how it is. We can't go into a season with a quarterback and give him an excuse and an out, because you ever notice that if Boise State is good, or Michigan, or Florida State, Texas, or whoever it is, like whatever team it is, there's a transition period. There was one player that changes the tide. Like even in the Ohio State, Michigan rivalry, that hasn't been a rivalry for many years now. Ohio State's been dominant. But if Michigan has one player and that player is superior, they're going to beat Ohio State. And that's the effect of that one player. Like that Joe Burrow effect, where that team is a good team, but Joe Burrow goes to a different level. And before you know it, he wins the Heisman. Their team goes undefeated, and they get 5 or 6 guys drafted in the first round. That's what talent does. And talent can overcome a lot of things. If he's going to be that guy, it's going to take gigantic efforts like this when there's not much optimism looking at this season, when there's not that much of a roster and you got young receivers. If he can figure out and be the difference, and that's what we're talking about when you think of those Boise State teams, yourself, Orlando Scandrick, and whoever it is, like there's difference makers that got y'all over the hump, and those difference makers makes the NFL. Those difference makers change the tide of a program, and Jalen Hurts has the unique ability of coming into an organization, beating out the last starting quarterback, getting an opportunity this year, and if he can be the difference maker, he's won the city forever. And if he doesn't, in this short time with the bad roster, he's going to lose it forever. So he can't go in saying, oh, I got these receivers, I got this offensive line, it's a new coaching staff. No. The person that's why I said out of the greatest players, Jerry Rice is my favorite player, my greatest player of all time. His numbers, you can't even deny his numbers. But the guy that has the most effect on the game is not a receiver. It's the quarterback. So therefore you say Joe Montana, you say Tom Brady, because those guys are difference makers. When Drew Bledsoe got hurt, Tom Brady made the difference. When they were down and he found Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone, made a difference. So Jalen Hurts has that opportunity to write his own history, and I don't think anybody should make an excuse for him with the bad offensive line and so forth, or not. Even if the team goes 7-9, if Jalen Hurts is making them compete every week, he's still going to get his just due, because Deshaun Watson didn't win a lot of games last year, namely because of injuries, but he was carrying the team. Dak Prescott didn't win a bunch of games early in the season, but he was carrying the team 400 or 500 yards each and every week, and it may not equate to wins, but you're going to do your job enough that they say a quarterback is not our problem.
Yep.
So that's where I am with that.
Mic drop. That's it.
Mic drop.
I love that, man.
Yeah. It's always good talking to you. We always go over time. But again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Q&A show. Check us out on Amazon Music, Inside the Birds platform, on YouTube channel. Michigan is definitely beating Ohio State this year, just for everybody to know. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about this year, maybe 2024. But if it's this year, man, I'm going to Vegas. Let me go put some money on it right now. Them odds, boy, if I put 1,000, I'll mess around and walk away with $1 million.
That should tell you your chances. Don't you do it.
Don't do it.
Just give it to me, man.
I constantly have that dream that I went back in time knowing the information of the future.
Oh
man. Do you know I was in my first, I would have took my whole signing bonus and put it on Appalachian State. $455,000. I'd have put it all on Appalachian State if I can go back in time.
No, what you need to do is take your whole bonus and put it on Amazon stock.
Listen, I would have did that. I'll be on Bitcoin, Amazon, Uber, Zoom, StreamYard. I'll be on all of this stuff, right? They wouldn't have it. Yeah.
Facebook.
I constantly have that dream. Oh man. But Q, it's always good to talk to you. Again, check us out Inside the Birds platform on the YouTube channel. We want to say thank you guys for submitting your questions, insidethebirds@gmail.com. We'll speak to you guys. See you guys next time. This is Jason Avant signing out on the Q&A show. My man Q, have a good night, my man. And it's always great talking to you.
Always great talking to you too, man.